I would like to welcome Sandeep ji, Shantanu ji, and Manda sir with a huge round of applause. Please, with a huge round of applause, please welcome all the dignitaries. As mentioned by the host, that we are talking about the sustainability, how the SDGs will play the important role in the future, and we are some of these big dignitaries from the industry. I would like to just introduce Sandeep Chaudhary sir, the Managing Director and the Board Member of HUF Group, Mr. Santanu Ghoshal, CHRO and Head, CSR Sustainability Coordinator at Schaeffler India, Mr. Mukherjee, Lead Sustainability at Praj Industries. With a huge round of applause and with a great good evening, sir, I would like to start this panel discussion on a couple of topics about the why sustainability is important. We have gone through the recent news that Delhi is facing a huge problem with the air quality index, and now again the air has become the hazardous, and how this affecting all these industries, and the various factors of industries are affecting our local environment and even in the biological environment. So over to you, Sandeep ji. What will be your thoughts about the sustainability, the balancing economic and social environment with the lean management practices in the industry?
Thanks, Deshpande ji. So I'll go with a mix of Hindi and English, because I know English is quite formal language, and few things could be more expressed in our national language. So if I remember my kid smaller days when I was used to kid, around 35 years ago. तो घर में एक चिड़िया आती थी छोटी छोटी, small birds, if you remember. And I think as on date, if we guys are living in flat or somewhere, how many guys have seen those kind of birds now? They are gone, correct? So this is the impact of what, as a human being, we are exploiting this world. And sustainability, what I say, is to sustain, sustainability. What we have today, it should last tomorrow, it should last even after the ages. So which means, if you remember all guys, that there used to be a small ad in the TV where a kid is asking that my future is dark. He is cursing his father and mother that what you will leave for me, if for my future. And the parents were not having any answer. People thought it's childish, but it was a fact. If I compare with my last generation, what my father used to see, what I'm seeing, and what I'm foreseeing for my kids, it's really horrible. I cannot imagine. Though we are talking a lot about sustainability, but how much we are doing is still a question mark. As a head of an organization, in my last 23 years of experience, only in last 2 or 3 years, we started talking about sustainability. Correct, sir? Earlier, we were just exploiting of water, underground water, for the residential society as well as for industrial. Exploiting the trees, we never thought that oxygen is so important. We just came to know when COVID fall on us, and we came to know the importance of oxygen. So as an industrialist, all are here. Just think for a moment that as in our entire career, how much did we return to environment? What we did? Of course, we are paid by our organization, but we are a part of a life cycle where every ingredient of this life cycle has its importance. I think you might have heard that somebody told that if honeybees will go away from the world will collapse. Why somebody says this? Because that is part of a life cycle. And we as a human are the one who is exploiting this like anything. So in my view, I think sustainability is not related with economy, but it's related with the survival. That how long our generation will survive. It's really, I think if today you will see the news about Delhi's, the schools are closed for 2 days. And Mumbai is also considered the same yes. Condition. So what, after 10 years, can you imagine that whether we will be able to live in such polluted atmosphere or not? we'll start, degrading ourselves. So forget economical aspect, forget social aspect. It's a survival. So sustainability is not the need, it's a must. That we should, what we have as on date in 2023, we try to preserve it. And it cannot be done by a single industry. It's a thought process which, as an entrepreneur, we need to prevail in our entire team members, our family members, or our kids. Just tell them, don't even the electricity, if it's kept open, shut it. This habit, if there is a water spillage, stop it. If whatever you can conserve. I can just give a small example which shows that a joint industry, what we can do. So we are in Chakan. If you know, Chakan industrial area is not very well organized area. So we do have internal challenges. One of the challenges is always water, correct? How many times MIDC supplies water? It's rare. So we were having, I'm just taking 2 minutes. So I'm just adjoining the Bosch. Bosch is a big company. So we found that in my premises there was an ancient well, but somehow the target was never on sustainability, so it was full of rubbles. So happily everyone was earning salary, having 8 to 5 job and leaving. So when I joined, I found that there's a well, and well is a good resource of, it's not a resource for taking the water, but it's also for enriching your water table. And my neighbor Bosch was suffering with excess water. At the time of rains, they had flood because anyhow the earth is concrete or other, so we cannot pump much water. So I collaborated with them. We jointly excavated the well, and now in last 2 years, the water table has improved by 1.5 feet.
Great.
So it's just open the hand, think, and see for our kids. It's not a matter of discussion, it's a matter of survival now for us. So not as an entrepreneur, as a human being, think what we can save.
Great.
Every electricity unit counts, every glass of water counts. Please do remember, after 30 years, you'll be paying more for 1 glass of water than any other amenity.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to ask Santanu, sir, as you are the leader in the CSI industry, and as a Schaeffler group, what are your thoughts on the sustainability and how you vision your next 10, 15 years as per the policy?
So first of all, is that this is not a new concept. Those who are in the plant and manufacturing, even in the past also, we have this standard called ISO 14001. There are energy savings projects which has been there getting practice for many, many years. However, that this particular topic is gaining more and more importance. And generally, in our context, in India, one part is, as Mr. Sandeep says, about emotional appeal. That this is something which we need to do not for the industry, not for the economy, but for life. But if you look at from the other context, there are 2 more perspectives I want to bring on the table. One is that regulatory. I guess probably the companies who are already listed, they don't really have a choice. So they have to file the BRSR report going forward. And if that happens, that has to happen. I don't know, I think many of you probably would know that this is one of the strictest regulatory guidelines from a sustainability perspective which Indian government has brought in. And it's very, very comprehensive. And I guess, इधर में ऐसे डंडा ही चलता है कभी कभार. So this would certainly bring in more discipline and rigor in this whole concept. That's the wish which you can have. But at the end of the day, still it's going to be implemented by all of us. So that's one aspect. Second, of course, I think if anybody looks at for the last few years of global risk reports, that's also one of the most important area. This is being named for many, many agencies, latest being economists, that this is one of the major risk for society, even also for the business, everywhere. And if we do not really act on this, then probably we have major challenges to face in the coming year. Now, if you just expand that, one of the other area where we also face a lot of challenges is our society and the community, where we operate in. And that's where I guess the CSR piece comes in the play. If the industries where by regulations they have to spend money can be a little more strategic in their foresight and thought process, then this can bring in a lot of substantial improvement on the sustainability and the climate or water protections area as well. So this E, S and G, there are a lot of overlaps here. I just give you one example, and for genuine reasons I don't want to take names. This is just to bring the whole topic into perspective. There is a company which is running a plant, and there is also a regulations, and by that the company is using the water, they are using that for their process, and then after treatment discharge it into the river. The company is following the regulatory process required guideline, and therefore they are safe. That's what they said. But in the whole process, the water really does not get discharged, even if there is some amount of treatment, at the same level where it was originally being drawn. Now, no problem so far. Down the line, probably from the river downstream, there is a set of fishermen. And then one or a group of fishermen started seeing that earlier they probably used to get 10 fishes, and that has gone down to 5. First, it was being observed by a group, then that group becomes larger, and then they started getting this whole issue being highlighted. One politician comes in, starts making a benefit out of it, then the minister gets involved, government gets involved. Who is going to be the final harm they are going to face is that company. Because finally somebody would come and say that the discharge what you are doing, although the regulatory standard says X, but because of you there are problems. And therefore you need to go and put up some more sophisticated water treatment plant. That means more investments. So these all activities are all interconnected. So when sometimes we look at things that in isolations, it's not really in isolations. So that's my initial thoughts on it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I just, just continuing the same discussion, I just want some thoughts from Mukherjee about the Praj, how you are planning your sustainability initiatives as a sustainable SDGs industry.
Thank you. Just a small correction, my name is Mandar. So, no worries, it's okay. So, you must have heard about Praj before. Those who are into stock markets must have heard and did something in it. So, you know, it's economic indicator that in past few months or a couple of years, how Praj in share market has grown and it is seen. So how this economic impact or profitability from shareholders' perspective being, you know, as a case study, if you look at it, so lot of things has happened. There's something called biofuel policy came, which mandated 20% of blending of ethanol in petrol. Then came recently under G20 presidency in India, they formed something called Biofuels Alliance, and we are leading it. So all this is what fueling the economic growth of an industry, which is Praj. If you look at the ethanol scenario or biofuel scenario, I mean, the whole concept is about sustainability, the offering of product, usage, and also life cycle of the product. So Praj has a couple of verticals. One is about biomobility, which produces bioethanol, biodiesel, sustainable aviation fuel, sustainable marine fuel, and compressed biogas. So in May this year, a flight took off from Pune to Delhi using blending of ethanol, sustainable aviation fuel, which was received by our Petroleum Minister, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri in Delhi. So this particular fuel, sustainable aviation fuel, which was blended, was made from Praj technology. Why I am citing Praj's offering and Praj's business model? Because it's about sustainability. One is the risk to the business that just, I mean, both the speakers talked about, emotional and the practical in manufacturing and you know, sustainability of the organization in itself. And other is your offerings as well. So if we are using plastic bottle in this conference and talking about sustainability, and the plastic itself is having so much of impact on our surroundings. We have seen the policies of state government and central government and pollution control board putting on plastic. And at the same time, the manufacturers are still using it. They have stronger implications on, co-panelists also mentioned that regulatory framework that are stronger. There's something called extended producer responsibility, that they need to take care of what they are selling and which is under the regulatory framework. Disclosures are another part. I mean, like he mentioned, I will like to add on to that. BRSR, Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report, just came in a picture one year back. But addition to that, next year onwards, to the listed companies, they are asking about assurance that whatever data you are putting online or submitting to Ministry of Corporate Affairs or SEBI need to be assured by third party. So it's not that you are, आप ही आपका ढोल बजा रहे हो, ऐसा नहीं है. It needs to be certified by certain agencies as well. So it's a regulatory framework, it's the customer requirement, it's about society around you. Then the CSR comes in picture. It's not social CSR only, but when we talk about social of ESG, it's about your employees as well, how we are well connected and bringing awareness among our own employees. And the product side. That's where the Praj's product I wanted to talk about, because when it goes in the usage, it's also create positive impact on ground. So sustainability for us as a Praj is part of not only DNA, but also, implementation as well. So that's broadly the take. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandarji. So there's one question just arrived in my mind. How we all manages the profitability and the sustainability in the manufacturing process? Any thoughts on how you guys are managing your profitability in the manufacturing with the sustainable processes?
Yeah, it certainly helps. So, like in case of manufacturing, we have a guidelines from government to use solar. So, like for example, my demand is almost 2 megawatt. So as on date, I have installed a solar panel of almost a megawatt. So which means 50% of my requirement are coming through solar. So again, I'm not motivating the government to burn that much of fuel. And recently, like both the panelists told, that there are stricter government guidelines. In Maharashtra, I think everybody is crying because of a new guidelines of diesel generator, where we have been told to either elevate the existing diesel generator for less pollutants or go for a dual kind of input fuels, which means you need to go with the PNG or CNG, which means the pollutants will further reduce. Third thing I told you, like the rainwater harvesting. So if you have good resources of rainwater harvesting, water collection, then of course, like my annual saving is almost 10,000 euros or around 9 lakh rupees, and annually just by using the water from the well, which I jointly prepared with the Bosch. So of course, it helps economically as well. And if we are doing something, so the employees around us, they also take back some lessons learned, and they also try to practice few things out of our practices.
Great. What about you, Mandarji?
Yeah, so add on to that, it's again coming back to citation of BRSR. It is a stricter guideline, everyone needs to disclose about it. So when we talk about disclosure, we have to also follow the basics of lean manufacturing as well, where it is about disclosure and then setting targets of continual improvement. So last year I used, say, 100 kiloliters of water against production of so many, profit of so many rupees. So I have also need to show that year on year how I am improving on those resource consumption as well. So from last around 6 or 7 odd years, we have been observing our own factories setting up targets. So we have reached now to the level where per human resource usage of water versus the extracted water from various sources, we are managing the per human resource usage to the minimum level. Then comes the energy. We are bad at that. Presently, the operations using very minuscule solar energy, to be very frank, but at the same time, we have taken target for next year onwards. We will have open access solar onboarded, where all our factories will start using the solar power. There are various challenges. I mean, implementing sustainability targets itself is a big challenge because it sounds so easy that put solar and get to the renewables. But there are multiple challenges like structural stability, availability, then state and national level rules of having solar up to certain capacity. So there are multiple challenges. When you come over it, then buying from leadership or buying from senior management as part of your sustainability target is another, I mean, you need to have that convincing power as well. All said and done, it's also about taking small steps within your operation. So we need to, I mean, rightly mentioned that interconnectedness we need to understand very well. So socio-economic, environmental and technological aspect, we call it internally as a SEAT model. So SEET, where all these indicators are linked with each other. We have around 100 plus KPIs monitored within the organization as a set of sustainability management systems. And like I mentioned, we have set targets as well year on year for the improvement of those. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Over to you, Santanu.
Well, I think some of the points are already covered as such. See, there are small quick wins, and which is fairly, I would say, less cost intensive when it comes to investments. So if you look at, like there are bright ideas for every employees in the organizations about how can we save water or how can we save electricity or energy, etc. So I think any organizations can really work in that directions, and it's more of a culture building. So if you do that, you really create an awareness and the culture that, okay, these are important resources, and these are the resources which are not abundant. And therefore, as and more we do on this area, also in our workplace as well as at home, we can create a better environment for our future generation. So that's a quick win, okay? And the next area, probably what we at Schaeffler, we are focusing big time is renewable powers. Globally, we have a very steep target, and I think by 2024, we are supposed to be 100% renewable. And it's absolutely, unimaginable currently. I mean, we tried actually, but somehow we didn't win with the war with the global organizations. But in the process, we've done a fantastic job in terms of so far. Today, we are around almost 60% through renewables. Grid plus solar plus PPA model. For the last 1.5 years, we are extensively and aggressively working. Now, one might argue, is that investments really profitable? Well, there are business cases, short-term, mid-term, long-term. So it is definitely profitable on the mid-term level, not even long-term. So that's another area which I would say that it's definitely doable and advisable. The more expensive is more of a technology. So suppose today we are running our heat treatments, and now those heat treatments are running for a very long time, and there is already set up. So that needs long investments. These things needs discussions and deliberations. And of course, I think many organizations currently who are doing business with us, they are very particular, and I can guarantee you that automotive companies would come running at you about these topics in the coming years. So there is no way we can avoid these things. So it's better that we should start taking small steps towards it, and that can only take us to the next level of excellence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sandeep ji, Shantanu ji, and Mandar ji. Floor is open to questions. Any questions? Yes. Yes, please.
Hello panelists, this is Samir Tambali from Vortev Energy. This is regarding emissions reported by companies. I have gone through many sustainability reports where I can see the company reports scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. But very few companies do come in front and report the scope 3 emissions. So my question is there any regulation where companies should report the scope 3 emissions? If the regulation is not there, do you feel that the regulation should come up for scope 3 emission reporting? Because I feel that scope 3 emissions are major chunk of emission which is missing out from the reportings. Thank you.
No, I think not to the best of my knowledge, there is any mandate about scope 1, 2, 3 wise, you have to really disclose these amounts, but it has to come. I mean, probably in the next year onwards, you will see that. See, there is nothing like, it's more of a disclosure. So there is no such mandate that you need to be below this level. So, this government regulations are very funny. They initially start with the disclosures, then the next level come, as he mentioned about core assurance, and the next to next level that how much of improvement you are getting. So be rest assured it is going to come, but I can also say you that from my knowledge, it is very, very difficult to measure scope 3 because our supply chain, transportation network, etc. is so widespread, and in terms of the maturity level, it is so low. It's not an easy job to really measure and disclose. But we are going to get there for sure.
Yes, thank you. Any more questions? Just last one.
Okay, fine.
Hello, I'm Nikhil from Intugin. So I observed that when we are talking about sustainability, we are specifically talking about our plants or our employees, the components which are control levers, like where we can easily implement some policies. But we are ignoring the topic about, let us say, our in-transit movements, where the carbon emission is happening at the most. Or we should also make sure that our suppliers are also carbon neutral. So just wanted to understand two things. First, to make sure that your suppliers are also interested in the same topic, they are also willing to be carbon neutral or focus on sustainability. What incentives companies like you should take, or what initiatives companies like you should take? And again, since he mentioned that scope 3 emission reports, you also mentioned that scope 3 emission reports are very difficult to measure or capture, right? What is the timeline you think that we can have a foolproof system where we can also capture those reports or those numbers?
Yes, thank you.
This
There
is
are two
the only
questions.
one.
One is the timeline and the one are the incentives which are given.
Yeah,
to
so I
have
think
the carbon
many
neutral.
companies, especially those who are global companies, they have a net zero target. So for example, for Schaeffler, we have a net zero target of 2040. So when we say that, that means currently the focus is more on scope 1 and 2, and scope 3 is already getting conceptualized. And when you say about net zero, that means you have to be ready with scope 3 as well. So that's the kind of timeline. I think we have multiple suppliers, and some of them are doing a fantastic job, in some cases even better than us. And they are not big suppliers at the global level. Some of them are really young suppliers, young entrepreneurs, and they are doing a fabulous job in their domain as such. They do get input from us. They do share their best practices along with us as well. But then you have 500, 600 suppliers. You need to work really comprehensively to get that awareness level up and running. So that's a mammoth task.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.